Hello, we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is a Dungeons and Dragons thing, and we're Dungeons and Dragons people. So
that's us.
We're starting a new campaign today, about which we're all very excited. We're hoping that you guys, if anybody's watching in the chat, you can help us figure out whether the volume of everything is correct and good, and also whether our D&D is bad. Because we do want to make it good. So I'm Eugene. I will be the dungeon master for this campaign. Maybe we'll go around and introduce ourselves. Nick.
Hello, I'm Nick. I am a player, and I will be Dipnip.
You are Dipnip. Li Shen, or Egberticus.
Hi, I'm Li Shen. And I will be playing as Egberticus. Very exciting.
Brackus, how about you?
Hello, I'm Casey, and I'll be playing as the barbarian minotaur, Brackus of Natarax.
Sure will be. Alec.
I'm Alec. I will be portraying Ekthos, the tiefling artificer.
And lastly, sort of breaking the fourth wall, you can tell that they're in the same place. Jaya and Emery.
I'm Jaya. I will be playing the adorable kobold, Ume.
And my name is Emery, and I'll be playing as Raythorin Nadarine, the last druid of Shadowrun. Or you can just call me Ren for short.
Wow, neat. Doesn't that sound like fun?
Wow, yeah.
Based on the names.
This is, yeah, you have to admit that this sounds like a lot of fun. So
everyone has to.
This will be our first time stepping into these characters and stepping into this adventure. Just to give you a little bit of a peek under the hood, we're using the D&D 5th edition rule set, incorporating some of the principles of the just released advanced A5e, I think it's called, from N Publishing. They seem like fun rules to sort of complement what D&D's got going. So we'll use a little bit of that and use a mix of homebrew world and principles, some of the Zeitgeist's adventure path, and elements that I've just pulled together from all sorts of fun inspirations. So that's us. I just heard a sound. I don't know what it corresponds to. Maybe steam. I think
Probably
steam.
my bones.
Anyway, yeah, that could be your bones. In a moment, don't be alarmed, because I will be completely engulfed in the character of the dungeon master and narrator of this adventure. It's still going to be me, but that's just the kind of transportive magic of
Can be eerie.
Dungeons and Dragons. At times, it can be a little eerie, yeah. But
I thought you were going to tell us
not.
that you were going to be engulfed in flames in a minute.
Nope, just in a
sounded like.
I was ready
character.
for that too.
Well, I might be in flames. So please feel free to chat along and let us know. I'm really focused on the sound here. It's just got to sound so crystal clear and perfect. So if you have other comments, that's fine. But sound is especially important. You should be hearing like a little bit of a mischievous. Is that how you say that word? I've actually been thinking about this. Is it mischievous or mischievous?
I think both are
Yeah, I think both are
correct.
correct. I
Mischievous.
think
I like
mischievous is more
mischievous.
English.
Objectively, it's mischievous. But-
Mischievous.
You should be hearing a mischievous little plucking of some string instruments to give us a sense of mystery and playful, maybe Victorian air, which is perfect for this setting. Mischievous, I hear from Real Pork Pie Hat. But you gotta do one of those syllables in all caps so that we know which one is emphasized. Mischievous.
Wow.
All right.
Of course.
Well, welcome to the adventure we will call the March of Progress. And now I will enter into a narrator character because I'm going to don this top hat. You know what? I didn't really realize that it can't go on top of headphones. I should have thought about that. All
You
right.
should have cut a hole in it.
I should have cut a hole in the top hat. How many times have you
Or-
told yourself, I should have cut a hole in the top hat?
You could
Too many.
create kind of a top hat facade
Well, how about this?
that is just the front of the top hat just for streaming.
There's a layer that you can add,
Just
like
tape
a
it to your
thing that
forehead.
just adds a top hat.
Yeah, a top hat
Or you
filter.
can go,
Yeah, there's probably
you
a top
can
hat
go
filter.
Geordie LaForge and put the headband in front of your eyes.
We'll
Yeah,
have
then
to
you'll
just
you can't see.
we'll have to
Just
forget the top hat.
Osmos the game.
A Geordie LaForge top hat?
No, you bent the headphones back.
Oh,
put 'em
yeah, I
over
could have
your
gone
eyes.
forward, like Geordie. Yes. Well, okay.
Much like Jordy.
False
The guy-
start with the top hat. I should have worn a suit. And how many times have you told
Top hat
yourself
was your one
that?
indicator that you're gonna go into DM mode?
Yeah. Well, now you'll just have to tell from my fun British accent.
Oh no.
Ooh, ooh,
Oh no,
Okay.
indeed.
Here we go.
Oh. Hello. Didn't see you there. I'm just joking. I'm just doing that thing where people say, "Oh, hello, didn't see you there. Of course I saw you. I see everything." Yes, everything. No, I do mean literally. Oh, it's not nearly so dramatic. Just one of the perks and, dare I say, sometimes drawbacks of being an eternal dragon entity charged with observing and scrupulously recording the metes and measures of all mortal lives and delivering summaries of certain notable eventualities for the canon mother to weave into the tapestry of history on the canon loom, blah, 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 blah. Yes, a literal tapestry. Why else would she need a loom? Keep up. Yes, a literal dragon. Well, I can't be in dragon form. I wouldn't fit in this room. Well, yes, you were told in the orientation that this celestial library is a place beyond any conception of time and space, but... Well, actually, that's rather a good point. Maybe I'm not a dragon? Anyhow, it's no matter. Come, sit. Come in. This is, I'm going too fast for you, I can tell. Can I conjure you some tea? Maybe a midday tipple? Oh, it's more right. Well, remember the time and space thing. Anyway, I'm not in the mood for conjuring, and you have some work to do. The Canon Mother has requested us to bring her another tale for the day's weaving. Let's just check the requisition form here. It's a standard 31B. Okay, 6 unlikely heroes. Okay, 6. They will be thrust into an uncertain age, teetering on the cusp of modernity and industrialization while wrestling with their shamanistic roots. Pretty standard fare. Themes of class struggle. Okay, well, this is getting interesting. And one of the heroes must be a walrus person. I don't even know why we include that box still. Nothing but trouble, that one. Is there another sheet? She didn't check the box for whether she wanted glorious triumph or tragic failure. Oh, okay. She wrote surprise me in the margin. Fair enough. I've got it. The March of Progress. Oh, I remember this one well. Although some of the details are a bit fuzzy. And how it ends, too, although I suppose that will be okay with the Cannon Mother. It's a cracking tale, that one, I'm sure of. You know, it's your first assignment, and we basically already finished work. How about we just take a bit of meaningless and completely arbitrary time here in the Celestial Library, and I'll refresh my recollection, Good, good. Let's begin. So, the city of Flint sits silently below. It is a city that is coming into its own, beginning to realize its potential as an industrial hub and as a center of industry and a center of achievement in the land of Reeser. People say that morning comes slowly in Flint typically. They say it so much and with such conviction that most folks never stop to think what that actually means, morning comes slowly. In fact, like any good adage, it doesn't mean any one thing. To the fishers and whalers who leave the harbor for the Ayers Islands and farther into the Ateliotes Sea, it means that the dense layer of marine fog and these days coal soot is barely ever pierced by sun until noon, until they've already returned with the day's haul. To the dockers and whalers of Flint, to the laborers toiling away on the night shift at the factories and in the abattoirs, turning newfangled grisly machines upon the fishers' largesse, anointing barrel after barrel with precious crude. To them, the phrase is also bitter, muttered as they wait for the bells chiming their freedom from the night's work. But to some in Flint, to those who find sustenance in the old ways, the slower ways of doing things, and those who can afford a languid hour amid the ceaselessly grinding new age, the phrase harkens that sleepy burg that Flint once was, a humble harbor on the northern edge of Reeser, largely shielded from the years of war with the land of Danner across the water to the north, and likewise isolated from court intrigue in Reeser's capital, Shale, many days to the south. But the March of Progress carves an unrelenting path across the land until it ends up at your doorstep, bringing with it riches and plenty, but also war and toil. And when the men and women of Pardwright University ecstatically announced that, just like its denizens, Flint's machines and workshops too could siphon life from the body of the whale, well, then Flint turned from just a hapless way station along the march to its ardent trumpeter corps. A lone crow stretches its wings and takes to the air from its humble nest on Cauldron Hill, the highest peak among the small spur of mountains called the Nettles, which cut into the city from the southwest. The crow is hungry and has lately found repeat success at one particular windowsill in the city's central district. Its flight takes it first over the ever-increasing mass of clapboard hovels clinging to the side of the mountain, teeming with new immigrants looking for work in Flint's factories. The shacks over the switchbacks of the highway cutting through the Nettles, just recently built to improve city travel, offer little more than crumbs for the hungry crow, if even that. An updraft, briny and cold, bolsters the crow as it flies over the walls of the central district, homing in on its target. Finally, it spies the bright blue lintels of the building and alights on a first-floor windowsill. It's a building belonging to the Reeser Naval Service, one of their few properties outside of the Royal Shipyard District. This building is an annex where some of the more, let's say, inessential work happens. Outside, two young men in uniform stand guard, barely able to stifle their yawns. The window which most interests the crow is foggy, almost completely obscuring the two figures inside as they rush about a spacious kitchen. Jaya, tell us about the smaller of the two figures.
the smaller of the two, aka me.
Yeah.
The smaller of the two is a cute little kobold named Ume. They are naturally hoarders and quite can be quite stubborn and easily get hangry at times. This particular kobold loves snacking, is quite small in stature and therefore very good at scouting and remaining stealthy. And is very excited to be on this journey far away from home.
What are they doing in the kitchen?
Oh, well, we are preparing a very large feast, making lots of different pastries, I believe, pies and such, chopping away. I am working with my boss, Egberticus, and very, very nervous, in fact, so I want to do a good job.
And just broad strokes, what does Ume look like?
I have sort of a dark reddish complexion. I look like something between a small lizard and a tiny dragon. But I have these cute little eyes that are that can often off-put suspicious characters, but in fact, I'm actually quite good at fighting as well, so I'm not to be messed with either.
Well, you mentioned your boss, Egberticus. Lishan, can you tell us about him?
So Egberticus is a walrus person, and he is, compared to the general population, he's a little larger, but he's sort of an average size walrus person. He has a large chef's hat, as he is the master baker in this kitchen, but he is also wearing armor that is like polished. There is not a single, scratch or like dent on his armor. It's meticulous. He has a very well coiffed handlebar mustache, and he has he's carrying a little pouch that has periodically taking a cookie out and munching on it. But he's standing in the kitchen observing sort of Ume as Ume goes about their work.
What's this feast that you're preparing?
So we have been asked to create we're catering an event for the RNS Coaltongue that is being launched. It's a ship, right, that's being launched. And we've been ordered to make 140 pastries.
That's a lot.
For the event, yes.
How are you getting on with it? What do you have to do? Like, what are the next few steps in your feast preparation?
Well, we've been up since the crack of dawn. At this point, most of the batters have been mixed, but we're having to shape all the various pastries and cookies, put them in the oven, and then they need to come out, and they need to be blessed, and then they need to be, each single one has to be inspected, and it has to be perfect.
Do you have any instructions for Ume as they go about their work?
Yes, lots. So every once in a while,
the floor is yours.
Yeah. Every once in a while, Egberticus, he's definitely going around, and he has like those little tweezers that you see like chefs use, and he's like, this one needs another raspberry. No, to the left,
sorry,
to the left. That one's burning. Take that one out of the oven. Yes,
Yes, chef.
Okay. This is not acceptable. This one. Oh yes, that one is good.
Sorry, chef.
I have to taste that one. I haven't tasted that batch. Oh,
Yes, chef.
jabbering dogfish.
No.
I don't know where to
that's
finish
good.
on time, but I have never been late in delivering a meal in my life.
Do you guys know each other?
Chef.
Oh yes, we've worked together for a long time.
Always in kitchens?
Well, we also have fought alongside each other in battle. You know, we're war heroes, my man. Don't forget it.
Of course, chef. How could I ever forget?
You guys hear a bit of
They
a
say this is an
tapping.
annex. But this is the most important work, Ume. What's that tapping? Do you hear something? I hear something. What's happening?
You've heard this tap before at the window. It's familiar to you. It's this annoying bird that's been coming by every morning.
Oh my god, by the saints, this bird again. Excuse me, bird. Excuse me, bird. Please leave. We're very busy.
It's a bird, so it's not really. It doesn't seem to be following your instructions.
Leave it to birds.
Damn.
Instead, it's
Is it
just.
trying to tell us something?
I don't know. Can you breathe fire on it or something? Make it go away. We're very busy.
Ume, you've been a little bit more.
Coming out.
You've been more generous than Egberticus in the past few days. So you've been feeding this bird some crumbs.
Bud, you need to come back later. Not now. You're gonna get me in trouble.
The bird kind of hops around a bit, but sees that it's not going to get fed, and by the time it lifts off of its perch, the sounds of the city are beginning to kind of be heard as it, along with the first stirrings of morning. These carts full of trade goods and crafts and raw materials make their way through the streets, dragged by the bleary-eyed folks who are just getting up. Most of the carts are going to or coming from the neighboring district, known for much disputed reasons as the Bosom Strand. It's a patchwork mess of hundreds or even thousands of warehouses and way stations, served by laborers day and night, and then scores of bars, brothels, and gambling halls that serve the laborers in turn. So in these early morning hours, it's not typical to see much of the Strand's seedy underbelly. Just the madams and money lenders kind of brushing their outfits off on their way to mind the shop. This is, in addition to being a hotbed of some criminal activity and houses of ill repute, it's also home to the dockers, which is a kind of movement among the city's laborers. It's an artistic movement. It's sort of a guerrilla theater. Renegade forms of expression and poetry and music that's done like right in the streets, mostly just to agitate the nobles. But those folks aren't out yet either. Not too far from the water's edge at the Strand, there's a squat brown building, almost indistinguishable from the neighboring anonymous depots, but there's a sign above the door: Reser Ministry of Learning and Arcana, Bureau of Modern Contraptions and Utilities. This is a repurposed warehouse serving these days as the BMCU's headquarters. The interior is lined with tables, desks, and study carrels, practically overflowing with obscured devices in various states of disrepair. And typically, at this time, the building would be empty during these morning hours. But there's an occasional wandering automaton, but other than that, it would be empty. But today, two particularly diligent employees of the BMCU are at their desk, gathering a few things before heading off to the day's events as delegates of the ministry. Alec, tell us about one of those. Tell us about one of those guys.
One of those workers at the Ministry of Learning and Arcana's Bureau of Modern Contraptions and Utilities is a tiefling.
What's that?
Of the Glaza bloodline. He is a humanoid, and he is a demon-like humanoid in that he has red, leathery skin, horns, dark hair, kind of your classic demon features, red eyes. It ends there. His feet aren't that weird. His hands and feet are like people's, like our like.
I was going to ask.
Okay, good. I shouldn't.
Great.
Yeah.
Oof. You know.
Can you talk more about what his feet look like? I want to know
No
more about
hooves.
his feet.
He wears
No
boots,
particular
actually.
reason. Oh,
He wears
okay,
boots.
that's too bad.
Oh, you have a thing for tiefling feet? I mean, no particular
I
reason.
didn't say that. I didn't say that.
You mean no particular reason? He's
For
wearing
a friend,
big,
asking for a friend.
big overalls. He's pretty dirty. He's wearing a big set of big overalls with pockets everywhere, kind of like a work outfit. If in every pocket you can kind of see some kind of joint mechanism or gadget. He's built a mechanism around his horns that are, you wonder what that does, and as well as he's got
Sure do. Oh boy.
a number of levers and buttons on his bracers that he has on around his arms. Yeah, and he's working on a tool bench. I imagine he's sitting there working at a tool bench, and in a classic style, he's got his set of blueprints here, but you can see that he has another book on the inside.
Wait, what's on the inside?
It is it's a fairy tale.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a fairy tale about a weasel.
Wow.
It's a nice little story.
And what's the fairy tale weasel's name?
Fairy tale weasel's name is Gork.
Wow. And what's
Yeah.
so can you quickly just sum up the fairy tale for us?
Sure, yeah, okay. So Gork, Gork didn't have much going for him. His brother died when he was little. It was eaten by a salamander when he was really young. So it was like, oh man, he was the strong one. So I don't think that there's much going for me. One day, long story short, a salamander shows up at the house. He figures out, oh snap, I actually can be stealthy. And he gets around and he, kicks the salamander off a cliff.
Wow. What a story.
Gets around it.
What a moral.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
there
he
is
can
a
be
moral.
stealthy.
Yeah.
Well, what Ekthos gets out of it is that weasels are surprisingly stealthy and perceptive. It can hear the salamander coming, it can hide from the salamander, and has a surprise amount of deadliness that he wants to emulate because he makes little animals. And
This
so,
this sounds
while
like
he's
one of
supposed to
those
be-
I guess I forget what you call them, but this exists in a lot of like indigenous cultures where it's a story that explains like why the weasel is stealthy. You know what I'm saying?
Creation myth.
A creation myth. That's what it is. Yep. Yeah. This is a weasel's. This is the creation of the weasel's stealth.
Yeah,
Something tells me that Ekthos is going to put a pin in that. Like, oh,
buy a
noted
book of
for
that.
later.
You buy a book of that and then you own it. Yeah.
And then just hit up the stealth of the weasel when you need a little boost to your stealth.
Exactly.
Is Emery does Ren notice Ekthos sort of doing a little extracurricular activity?
Yeah, he's always been very bookish, and of all his simulacrums, I mean, they all keep him very busy.
Ren's cool.
Yeah, man.
Ren's chill. Tell us about Ren.
Yeah.
So Ren is a druid, and he's a particular kind of druid. He's a sky seer, and sky seers in this realm, they spent their nights gazing into the sky and looking at the stars, specifically waiting for dreams that might reveal something about the future. And typically, druids, such as myself, we try to share these dreams with those who are around us, and with the hopes of avoiding catastrophes and maybe doing a little good in this world.
Well, Ren, I have to say, you sound like a bit of a hippie, a bit of a back to nature type of folk. What are you doing working at the Bureau of Modern Contraptions and Utilities?
That's a good question. Well, I feel like the direction that our society is going in is, a little reckless with the technology, a little, not looking at the consequences necessarily. And my connection with the earth, my connection with the world around us, just trying to serve as that bridge, and maybe bring some sanity to, or at least some self-reflection as we
Doesn't
move
help to
forward in
look
this
away.
world.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. And what does Ekthos look like?
Ekthos, Ren.
Ren, you mean, right?
Sorry, Ren. What does Ren
yeah.
look like?
Of
course,
well,
that's what
for
I mean.
those of
The demon with the feet.
the demons getting in there, demons getting everywhere. Yeah, so for those of their earthly realm, I would say he looks sort of like a cross between a John Wick and maybe the outfit of a Jon Snow from Game of Thrones.
The two Johns.
Part weight, part smell.
That's right. He's quite the John.
He's
What's
John
his feet
Squared.
like?
His feet are covered in boots. They're
They're
leathery.
so pointy.
Damn.
John's
And
Wick
he
and
rocks
Snow.
Very angular.
That's
feet.
right. Wicking that snow.
A Real Pork Pie Hat in the chat is wondering if you really can look into the sky to derive prophetic visions.
In fact, that's a very good question. We just actually the night before this all began, so just last night, here we are, first day. I actually had a vision, and I wanted to share it with Ekthos before we left the office. And so last night, I looked at the stars, and I saw a crowd and a purple ribbon. And this was in the city of Seobriga in Bear. You remember Seobriga,
In Bear.
right, Ekthos?
Of course.
Sure,
Never
yeah.
forget.
Seobriga in Bear.
right.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so in Seobriga, there was a girl with a lisp. This is quite vivid in my mind, singing the Risuri royal anthem. And amongst this vision, I also noticed an empty bed and a broken tin whistle. So the thing is about these these dreams, I'm not really sure always what they mean, but that's why it's important for me to share them with the world. So, you know, Ekthos, I really want you to know this, and maybe, you know, all of us can use this this information, maybe figure out what we need to do going forward.
Can you describe that for me one more time? That visual?
Yeah, so there was a crowd and a purple ribbon, and this was in Silverga. And there was a girl in this vision, she had a lisp. So, you know, her singing was a bit off key, but it was endearing nonetheless. And she was singing the Risuri Royal Anthem. And along in the vision, I remember seeing a tin whistle, but it wasn't functioning, it was broken. And there was an empty bed. I have no idea why the bed was empty, but that's what I got.
Now, what do you guys? How do you feel about this event that you've been invited to, the launch of this ship?
I mean, I feel like Ekthos, you know, is not one for pageantry, certainly, especially not when it comes to big old kind of, you know, government kind of things. I don't know. Ren, I feel like we're both kind of misanthropic in regards to things like this, no?
I mean, to be honest, I am quite seasick.
Yeah.
But Ekthos and I, we go way back, and the thought of me being a landlubber and not getting on that boat with my partner and close confidant, it's just a non-starter. So, you know, we're gonna do this and stay thick as thieves.
Hell yeah.
Ekthos, are you gonna wear your fancy new your fancy new armor that you've created? Actually, have you even showed Ren this thing that you made?
You know, I actually haven't. I keep most of these things to myself until I know that they work, because I used to make the mistake of sharing them and then they would like do nothing, and it would be really embarrassing.
Sure.
So no, I haven't showed him. I haven't showed him my armor.
Well, what do you need to grab before you go?
You know, I might as well throw on this armor. Well, I'm definitely going to grab my backpack of holding, because that's got everything in the world in it. So that's all I need.
So Ren, you see, I think for the first time. Oh wait, Ekthos, are you putting on the armor or just grabbing it?
Yeah, I might as well put it on.
So,
you know, it's a fancy thing. Show some shiny metal.
Ren, basically, you see Ekthos like step into the corner, sort of nonchalantly, and then all of a sudden, this like inert suit of metal armor seems to like bond itself to him and is like whizzing around like Iron Man, like, you know, all sorts of metal plates are interlocking, and seemingly like adhering to his body, and then Ekthos sort of is now just standing there, walking back toward the door, and I imagine probably every step is like a vooch, vooch.
It's a little bit of a steam. Oh yeah, this is for going out now.
Yeah, and I gotta say, when he would first do that, it would really freak me out. But now, when I hear that sound, it's quite soothing. And
Oh, that's nice.
You know, it's part of my, I wouldn't say every day, but when I hear it, I know things are okay. I know Ekthos is doing well. So.
Well, Ren, by the end of this, I would like to have a name for this outfit.
Okay.
I feel like it's like like I have a little mechanical version of myself that I call Mechthos. So like this is could be my ectoskeleton.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
There you go.
that's good.
You're putting a lisp in it. You're putting a lisp in it, just like that girl. The
Yeah.
ectoscamp.
Yeah, that's how people from Bear talk.
Yeah.
They would
Very
say
lispy.
ectoskeleton.
Big up a Castilian.
Yeah, a little bit Castilian, yes.
A little bit.
Nice.
So, are you guys ready to go?
Yeah,
think so.
I'm grabbing my my saber or shabla, and yeah, we're ready to go.
It's like a
We're
ceremonial
excited.
saber.
It's viewed as ceremonial, but this blade has met the throat of many a foe, so it can do some damage in battle.
Tight.
So you guys approach the
I'm
door.
gonna grab the weasel I was working on too.
You grab the weasel and are ready to head out. You walk confidently out the door, and basically your face bumps right into an incoming person. Maybe the last person you wanted to see at this moment. It's Lorna Elk, your boss. She's a tall, very put together, imposing kind of figure. She's the person who's in charge of the whole BMCU. She wasn't supposed to be here today, but she's the one who delegated the two of you to go to this event. But she does have a habit of micromanaging that's hard to overlook. So, I mean, you really were hoping to not run into her. So as soon as she sees you, she gives a big sort of smile that always kind of makes you cringe because you know it's a little it's forced on her part, and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe I ran into you here. That's so crazy. I bet you were like just leaving right now, huh?
Lorna, I guess we failed to learn the lesson of the weasel. Good to see you.
Oh my God, it's so good to see you. I love seeing you every time. She grabs your shoulder and gives it a little squeeze.
Oh.
And how are you liking Ekthos' armor today?
It's so
Quite
cool,
shiny.
and it's so completely not inappropriate for this event. That's my favorite part about it, is that
Absolutely.
you're just like representing our whole department, and you're gonna go to this event with this very cool armor on. And you know me, I love all kinds of armor, and I love when people like look like shit and like total dorks. It's my favorite. So it's just so great to see you like this, and I know you got everything. I was just making sure, it is in case you forgot anything. It's totally okay if you did.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to see if there's any loose ends to tie up or anything like that. You guys are good.
Let's see. Ren, looking around, it seems like, yeah, Lorna, it's good that you checked, because this is good.
Yeah, and the books are
positive
done.
interaction.
We made sure to finish up ahead of time. So, we're good to go. We're going to
Way
attempt
ahead.
this function,
Generally.
and everything's in order.
That's so cool. I love when things are in order, and I know I can always count on you guys to do it. You guys are like, I know I always say this, it's like so funny, but you are like totally my work husband.
You do say that. You do say that.
That's
pretty
right.
much.
Yes.
I know I say that all the time because it's so true. And Ren is also, you're also like my work husband, so it's like you're both like
Right.
we're like a work throuple. It's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, it's like husbands all around, and like you're just right here in between us.
Just
It's like
everywhere you
really
look.
cool.
It's
really
so
cool.
great. It's
Lorna
really
sandwich with husband bread.
Listen. Oh, I love that husband bread. That's so fucking hilarious. Oh my God. That's so cool.
Glad I
So
said it.
There's a little thing that I wanted to ask you to do because, I'm on this, it's not a big deal. It's just like the central planning committee for the launch of the RNS Coaltongue. It's like the biggest ship that's ever been launched or whatever. It's not, I'm on the committee and it's just like totally fine. And I wouldn't even mention it, but it's sort of the thing that you kind of have to do when you're a boss.
Yeah, you're talking about it.
She's mentioned, I've heard her mention it.
Yeah. So, and then, so I ran into, do you know Stover Delft? He's the Assistant Chief Inspector of the Royal Homeland Constabulary. Do you know him? He's like really important, so I wouldn't think that you know him.
He's the assistant. I don't think we know him. Who does he report to?
Okay, come on.
I'm sure I'd love to meet him.
He reports to Chief Inspector Saxby. Everybody knows that.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I love it when you joke with me like this. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's so
really fun.
Saxby always looking into his affairs and what his comings and goings.
So I ran into Delft. I love him. Oh, my God. He's also like my work husband. Like, he's my work husband on the
really?
on the Central Planning Committee. Yeah.
It's great. We're all cool with this.
I wish I wasn't hurt a little bit by that one.
We're good. Open relationship, somewhat.
I'll work on it, Ren. You're right. I'll work on it.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding when I say that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But hey, listen. Hey, can we get serious for a minute?
Sure.
Okay, good. So, what he said was that they're having a little bit of trouble with crowd control because like people are like already showing up even though it's like totally morning and it's like, oh my God, I haven't even had my coffee. I've just like barely had any. I've had so much coffee already. So, I love coffee. I fucking love coffee.
Yeah, you always are saying that I shouldn't even talk to you until you blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'm like
a bunch of coffee or something.
When I get up, I like to say like instant human, just add coffee.
Totally.
And then it's like because for coffee you add water. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh my God, I like totally forgot. So he was asking if we could like send somebody to help out, and I have like a lot of stuff to do, and I'm like not, it's not really for me to just like kind of be doing crowd control.
Crowd control?
Yeah, that's not like really for like somebody like me to do, but I think you guys can like totally handle it, and it'll be like such a good opportunity for you because you'll get to like talk to all those like dirty people and everything.
Right. I mean.
And some of them are going to be like from where you're from. Yeah.
Sure.
Because the guy who built the ship, he's from where you're from. Do you know him?
So you can kind of think that we can get to know them while we're controlling them.
Yeah. Well, anyway, hey, listen. Thank you so much.
Control situation.
I know I can always count on you. So and when you show up at the Royal Square, just talk to Stover Delft and just tell him that Lorna made sure that you were there. And I know that he's the guy, he kind of looks like an old, like kind of like cute guy. He's like, but like older. But
okay, we're looking for an older, cute guy. But
yeah, so he'll be there. He's going to have the uniform and everything. Just ask around. If you see any RHC people, you'll know to ask them. So yeah, just make sure to just say that I sent you because I'm sort of on the hook for it. Okay?
I mean, checking my job description. All right, see you later.
Bye. Love you guys. Love you. You're the best.
Eugene, I am willing to derail this entire campaign into a chaotic evil campaign if we get to track down this person and kill them. I hate her so much.
I love Lorna.
I mean, I don't know if Ren and Ekthos would be okay with you killing their work wife. So. You
Emery, I think you're muted.
Oh, is he? Oh, yeah, you are muted, maybe. So you depart for the Royal Square, from your offices, And by this time, let's get a look at the city of Flint. It's starting to be morning time. A little bit more sort of awoken, and you're brushing past the laborers. They're crowding the dusty paths of the Bosom Strand. They have an hour's worth of negotiating these hawkers and peddlers and night soil collectors that are surely going to be underfoot. But for them and the other kind of seasoned navigators of Flint's twisting passages, these journeys are practically second nature. So eventually, they will all get to the Royal Shipyard, and more specifically the Royal Square, where the crowds are slowly massing. And when you get there, it is already a busier scene than you might expect at this time of day. It's bolstered, I think, by the warm breeze that's starting to blow off of the sea, and people are kind of murmuring and chatting a little bit, and you start to see the beginnings of a crowd forming. Out there, it's kind of like a market type of scene. Stalls are set up. People are selling food, like snacks and everything, but also like rugs and earthenware. Like people are taking this opportunity of a big crowd to kind of hawk their wares. And to kind of recap for those of us who weren't officially invited. By the way, did any of you guys bring your ticket to the event? So,
yeah.
Cool. To those who weren't officially invited, maybe some in our audience, it is spring of the year 500 AOV, or after our victory. 7 years after the end of the fourth war between Reeser and Danner, known as the Yarosal Wars. And the shipyards in Flint have completed the first Reesuri warship powered solely by steam engine, not sail. The esteemed long-serving monarch, King Aeodon, has come up from the capital, Shale, to Flint to witness the official launch of this mighty vessel. It is wooden hulled. Actually, let's have a look at the ship as well. It's wooden hulled, but it has a skin of iron, and it is meant to be a deterrent against future aggression from Reeser's enemies across the sea, the nation of Danor. So for years, Danor had enjoyed technological superiority, because that's the only kind of superiority they can have in this arena, because the magic has long since fizzled in their lands. But Reeser seems to be on the cusp of reaching parity technologically. And at the very edge of the crowd stand agents of the RHC, the Royal Homeland Constabulary, called upon to provide security. So they've spent the past several weeks working to make sure this event goes off without a hitch, canvassing the docks, performing background checks on the guest lists, coordinating with local police to make sure that they can set up a perimeter, and following various directives of the web of agencies acting as stakeholders for the event. So now, as the warming air is kind of mingling with the scent of floral decorations and tropical fruit, alongside, of course, the pervasive coal soot that always hovers above Flint these days. Two agents are at the first of two checkpoints, working with the Flint police to let in a crowd of local citizens. Casey, tell us about the guy with the horns.
The guy with the horns. Well, the guy with the horns is Brachus of Natarax, and he is a one of the best warriors ever to set hoof on a battlefield. And his not necessarily a super famous guy, but like well known among people who know military warrior stuff, and always a very loyal soldier. Fought very hard for Reeser, and not too long ago was actually busted down to a lower rank because
oh no.
Despite all this noble, great service
And this heroism.
the heroism that Brachus just did all this heroism, but despite that,
He did all this
simply-
heroism and
he did
still.
all this heroism. I mean, don't get me started, but do in this instance. That he did all this heroism, and then despite that, there was this big battle, and he fought really good, killed a lot of bad guys, and then this general, the fiendish General Crunt, ordered him to execute a whole barn filled with grandmas, a whole barn of innocent grandmas for no good reason.
There were some
No good
atrocities committed during the war, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's just classic General Crunt stuff. The guy is
He has been court-martialed.
Good. Well, that's like, a bit of solace for Brachus, but doesn't change, the pain of being dishonored and busted down in rank just
not
for
at all.
refusing to commit this horrible crime, and like, hey, Brachus isn't the squeamish sort, like he's got no problem chopping some folks to pieces if there's a good reason. But a barn full of grandmas, he said, no, not going to do it.
The reason
And
was
then-
not good enough.
The reason was not good enough. So now he's stuck with this job, the security for a boat launching. And Brachus likes boats. He appreciates, the engineering that went into this thing. But he's not looking to do this, he's babysitting now, basically. He feels like he's babysitting these other guys, the security. It's just not his deal. He wants to get back to the battlefield and the blood and the mud flying and the gritty, the action and the excitement. And this just does not blow up his armored kilt.
No. What about the guy who is the polar opposite of oh wait, getting some echo here. Who's that from? Ume and Ren, maybe? There we go. So the polar opposite is the other one standing next to him. Nick, tell us about Dipnip.
Dipnip is like the humanoid equivalent of a crumpled piece of paper. Like he looks like he was born rumpled. He is a deva, so he's hundreds of years old. So old that he doesn't even really remember like large parts of his life. He just kind of knows that he's been alive, and you'd think somebody who would be given like a long life would take advantage of it and like make something of themselves, but no, he loves like he wants nothing more than to be at a desk arranging pieces of paper for the rest of his life. He sort of fell into working for the constabulary, and he is absolutely doesn't care for violence, doesn't care for most of the aspects of his job. He loves lists. He loves like details. Yeah, checking boxes is what gives his life meaning.
Well, that is absolutely perfect for your manager, Stover Delft, the assistant chief inspector of the RHC, because he's always been a better manager than an inspector, and he loves delegating, and he loves that you keep track of the requisitions, you keep track of seizures and assets. You absolutely keep track of, personnel issues that the RHC may be having. And just some background on the RHC, it is it is responsible for investigating and enforcing laws related to complex kingdom-wide crimes, not a local police force, and therefore sort of complex fraud schemes and smuggling and things like that are bread and butter for the RHC, and therefore skills like dipnips are actually in high demand. It's less need for someone with Brachus's proclivities. So Dipnip is very much in his element there. So as you're standing here, you remember that this whole time Stover has been sort of grousing about something, and all of a sudden he's sort of like back in your mind as you were awestruck by the crowd and the ship, but all of a sudden his voice sort of fades back into your consciousness, and he says, "So anyway, like I was saying, at this point you're gonna have to survey the crowd and figure out, assess whether there are any threats. Now I'm still waiting for these two jackasses from the BMCU to show up, and once they're here, the four of you can divide the crowd into quadrants or something. You know what to do. First, probably brief those guys and the police, and be on your damn way." So as he finishes saying that, Ekthos and Ren approach, and Ekthos and Ren, you
the
guys
aforementioned jackasses.
Yeah, yeah. You notice the RHC uniforms, or the badges that they wear on their cloaks. So you know who to approach, and so you see these two guys, the big Minotaur, the crumpled up piece of paper, and Stover, who he is aged, but maybe you see where Lorna was coming from when she said that he was kind of cute. He has the kind of 90s Clooney, like Caesar haircut look.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Sure.
he's very
Tiny
much
little bangs.
Exactly. He's aging rather gracefully. He walks with a cane because during an operation before he was a desk jockey, a mimic tore off a chunk of his leg. So he's got this habit. The cane is partly to help him walk, but also he's got a habit of like tapping things with the cane to make sure that it's not gonna bite him when he gets too near. So you guys approach. He spits out some of the tobacco juice from his chaw and says, "You must be them. Lorna said you were coming. Look, we've got to figure out. We've got about a half hour before this crowd is going to start to want to get across that bridge and into Fleet Square, where the king and everybody else will be arriving. So we need to canvass the crowd and look for anything that might disrupt the festive goddamn environment here and the jovial mood and lightness pervading these affairs." And you sort of you have a sense, well, especially Brachus and Dipnip, you have a sense of who to look for to determine if there's a threat. So there's it doesn't feel nice to you, but you have to sort of start to try to segment the crowd or segment members of the crowd by how they look. Some of them, agitated dock workers might be there in the hopes of starting a protest or getting the king's or some other dignitary's attention by throwing or yelling something. So you want to try to avoid that. There's also primalists, the followers of the old druidic faith, similar to Ren. They may be there angry at all this new industry, trying to kind of disrupt the flow of things. Then if you see any people who might be of Fey origin, they just like to mess with stuff, so you might want to look for them. They love mischief and tomfoolery of all kinds. And finally, this one is a little more tough, but there could be because the ship's designer is a Danoran, one of these tiefling-looking guys. There are all kinds of people from Danor, but many of these tieflings. A lot of war veterans might sort of take issue with the Danoran's presence even, and they may have, they might not like their a core part of their national security being handed over to one of these tieflings. So they could, So the idea is to kind of be on the lookout for folks, but at this point, you tell me what you want to look for. This is a good old-fashioned skill challenge. You tell me what skills you want to use to identify threats in the crowd. We'll go in order with the four of you, and you want to do more successes than failures. So let's start with Brackus. What do you do first in reference to your skills to try to ascertain threats in the crowd? And this will be our first rolls of the campaign.
All right. Well, I'm going to use intimidation and go up to anyone who looks angry.
No.
And go and intimidate them and remind them who's in charge here.
All right.
So there.
Really starting off very relatable.
Yep.
Really garnering sympathy for these characters.
Hey, I mean, it's law enforcement.
I come from nobility, I'm better than most of them, but I'm still noble.
So roll an intimidation check.
All right.
What kind of person did he run into?
We'll see.
Who is he talking to?
Oh my God! The first roll of the campaign is a natural 20. Wow. Now, Brackus, what's up with your intimidation that it's -1? Oh, because your charisma is so low, right? I think we were able to tell that.
That's the first thing you go for. I love it.
So, basically,
20.
Brackus cuts through the crowd. His enormous pauldrons on his shoulders are clearing the way for him.
Do I knock some people down as I go?
A real pork pie hat is upset about the lack of die cam. There's no die cam. I'm sorry, no die cam at the moment. We're working on it. We're working on it.
He just has to take our word for it that it's a natural 20 on the first roll.
He's got to take our word for it. Unfortunately.
Oh, another one.
He does have a point, though. He does have a point. We do need a die cam.
Another one. Yeah, we can get a die cam going.
Oh yeah.
Because otherwise, how can people experience the joy of rolling a d20 on the first roll?
It's true. Hey, look, I'm trying to experience joy all the time. So I think that's very important. So, anywho, we got a 20. Brackus cleaving his way through the crowd with his big, strong shoulders, and he comes upon a fella who is he seems to be not enjoying the spirit of the affair as much as everyone else. And so Brackus, you sort of set on him. Like, what do you say?
I say, hey, fart face, what's with the fart face?
Hey, so he's quite intimidated. I love ships. I love the king also.
Oh, is that so? Is that right? You love ships, you love the king.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. If you love ships and you love the king, then why the fart face?
Oh, yeah, I see where you're coming from totally. And I guess it's because my face looks like a fart. I'm sorry.
Well, as long as you're willing to take responsibility.
Look,
I guess
I don't want any trouble. Do you? So other people do. You should definitely talk to other people who do want trouble and not me who doesn't.
Oh, is that so? Perhaps you know of someone trying to start some trouble, and perhaps if you told me of this troublemaker, I might feel better about you and your fart face.
Well, okay. Why don't I keep a lookout, and I'll let you know.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna give you a shot. I'm gonna give you a shot on this one, and you keep a lookout, and you report back to me. And if you get me some good intel, maybe I'll stop calling you fart face.
Hey, thanks a lot, Deputy Fartface.
Yes, everyone, all four of us, thank Deputy Fartface. Thank you, Deputy Fartface.
Deputy Fartface is very. Wait, hold on. Deputy Fartface is very much regretting that he came to this event. Yeah, he really hates it. But nevertheless, I mean, you do now have a sort of a spy in the crowd who might alert you to any kind of bad actions by the attendees. Ekthos, what do you want to do?
I'm going to. Would it be fair to use investigation in this circumstance to look around the crowd to investigate the situation to see if there's any, or do I need to be more specific with that one?
Tell me what you want to be looking for, I guess. So maybe I'll frame the challenge here this way. At this point, what you're looking for is not the particular people who might be causing trouble, but rather ways to turn a crowd of thousands into a thousand into a smaller, into a manageable kind of assessment pool. You see what I'm saying? So the intimidating that guy was helpful because now he has been, deputized to help, essentially.
Yeah, I would like to see if there's anyone with any kind of Ekthos is knowledgeable about machines and gadgets. So if I could kind of scan the crowd and see if there's anything that I could see that could potentially cause trouble in that regard, if there's anyone who has anything or anything like that.
Sure. Roll
firearms or gadgets or
do a perception check with advantage, since you're relying on your kind of engineering knowledge. And remember, for advantage, you hold Alt when you click the little die, and it'll roll.
Ooh, and what is that if I'm on a Mac?
Option.
Is it still okay? And sorry, perception. Was I doing perception?
Perception.
Okay. Did that just happen correctly?
Yes.
And I did not roll well.
Oh, you rolled so poorly.
That was some of the worst rolls I've ever.
So, you know, you hope, you look through, but you don't get too much confidence in your search because you can scan the sort of top of the crowd, but as you start looking, quickly you realize that there could be things kind of in people's hands or under their cloaks, and you're sort of like, I need to take a different approach.
You know what? This was really stupid of me. I pull out the weasel, and I pull and put on my goggles, and I'm gonna let that go.
Save that for the next round.
You're right. I'm doing too much.
So, what do you want to do, Ren?
Well, I have a certain connection with animals, and in the crowd, I notice some quite exotic creatures, from Rassuri clawed frogs to Denori gray parrots. I see some lories. They're also known as lorikeets. Also some water dragons, and there's some bearded dragons. They've been known to get into some mischievous things. But what really piques my interest is this crow that is perched strangely too close to people, because crows are usually quite aware and they
lots of
kind of keep their
reptiles.
distance, but this one's quite close. So I'm gonna use my skill of animal handling to see if I can get some information from this crow who's hanging around.
Okay. So you are trying to deputize the crow.
That's right.
Creative approach.
That's what's happening here.
Okay, roll an animal handling check.
All right.
So, as I said before, crows are crows. You can't really talk to them without magic, just through pure animal handling. You sort of do your best.
They are smart.
They are smart. You sort of do your best and try to kind of see whether you can tell the crow to be on the lookout for anything suspicious, but you start to feel ridiculous about a quarter of the way into your planned conversation, and decide, it's, you sort of you're like, fly, and the crow, flies away.
Okay, good talk.
Good talk,
I think
crow.
we're on the same page now.
Deputy Crow.
You go on. Yeah, sure. Okay, sounds good.
So yeah, there was some. Ekthos with advantage rolled a 3 and a 4, and Ren rolled a 5. Not inspiring thus far. Dipnip, what do you want to do?
Well, as a Deva, I have been around the block enough times to get a pretty good feeling for when people are lying to me.
Yeah.
I have the class feature bullshit detector rather than having to do an insight check. DM makes one for you whenever a character is lying.
Yeah.
I figure if I'm that good at telling when someone is lying, I should just if we're trying to figure out who is here for nefarious reasons, I should just break the problem down into its constituent parts and just go up to every single person and ask them, what they're doing here and do they have any nefarious intentions.
What a dipnip way to go about it.
That is very Dipnip.
Sounds like a good plan.
So, okay. So
There's like 1,000 people.
Yeah. It is very
I've got
Dipnip.
time.
Good list.
I've got a lot of
It's a
time.
good list.
It's very Dipnip. Yes, you have an entire half hour, so it shouldn't be a problem. Hit control and roll perception. Control is disadvantage. So we'll see what happens here. I mean, the instinct is wrong, but you are good at telling if people are lying, so you might get lucky. But you know the instinct is wrong. That's you. That's you
yes.
really
I'm aware
inhabiting
that this
Tip
is bad.
Yeah.
I am not.
You did it.
Oh, okay, there, finally.
Okay.
2 and 1.
Wow. So
What in the world?
Wow.
So our first 6 rolls of the campaign are 20, followed by a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Are we?
Working our way back up to that 20.
Are we
Okay.
about to fail to prevent 9/11? Is that what's gonna happen?
Well, that would be a good call to action.
Yeah.
Well, it's been about 10 minutes.
Focus up.
You haven't made a ton of progress in trying to sort of right-size this task, other than Brackus going up and yelling at someone.
Who said he would help?
Yes, but
He can help a lot, I bet.
that said, you are able to at least find like one person. The crowd is kind of still waiting about idly, but someone, like some messengers in the crowd, start to hand out lyric sheets of the royal anthem. To make sure that, you know, when the king shows up and everybody has to sing, that they get all of the later verses, the more obscure ones. It's like Hallelujah. It's a very long anthem, you know, lots of verses. So everyone has to make sure that that they're getting the words right. Brackus, let's go back to you. You're still trying to kind of make this a manageable task. What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to use. Can I use history to like figure out if any of these people have shady backgrounds?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think history would be more like you would use your history knowledge to figure out if a particular group or something is associated with anti-government activities, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, then I will do that to find out which one of these groups is the most uppity.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Oh my God.
Oh.
So now we have a 19 from Brackus.
Oh.
Just
Brackus,
looking into a crowd.
No, it was a 20. It was another 20. Double 20s.
it was a.
I saw a 19.
It's a
a
19.
20.
It's a 19.
Really? Then why is it? Oh, okay. It was 19.
Plus
okay,
one,
never mind.
plus two. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So Brackus showing that the kind of like neoconservative law and order approach is correct. First goes into the crowd and yells at someone, and second says, basically decides that as long as you just keep an eye on the people who look pretty foreign, you can sort of just cut the task in half, basically, by only paying attention to about half the crowd, the ones that don't look native. And while that might not be correct, it at least focuses you and
Please don't push me into the crowd of foreigners.
Well, he doesn't know you very well
We'll
yet.
see.
So
I don't have a badge.
Next up, Ekthos, what do you want to do? Now the task has sort of changed. You're trying to find, like, now that you know who to deal with, you're trying to find the actual threat out of a crowd of people. Now more manageable, but you're looking for a veritable needle.
Okay, I'm gonna
Deploy the weasel.
I'm gonna deploy the weasel. I'm gonna deploy the weasel. Ekthos puts on these goggles that are connected to his mechanical housing, and a little remote that from one of his pockets. Thankfully, he finally finds the one that's connected to the weasel after trying a few different remotes.
It's time to deploy the weasel.
It's time to deploy the weasel. And in this mode, he can use the weasel's, all of the stuff that he was talking to Ren about earlier today while he was supposed to be working on whatever they were supposed to be working on. He was working on this weasel, developing it so that it had the proper amount of stealth and perception, keen hearing and smell, and this keen smell is what I'm going to try to access in this point. And I'm going to use it to see if I can smell for gunpowder or drugs.
Great idea. So roll another perception check with advantage.
Excellent. And the weasel's perception is actually one higher than mine.
Wow.
I don't know how to do that.
Well, no, you can use. I'm giving you advantage to sort of.
Oh, okay. I see. To
reflect that. Yeah.
I see.
Ooh-wee.
Okay. So here we have an 18 with your +2. That's a 20. So.
Sniffing around.
Yeah. So the first. At first, the weasel is not able to really. It's not able to. Your weasel hunt is not bearing fruit until you come across a guy kind of off in the corner, standing by a tree with a purple ribbon around it, and he is. It's not so much that he is. It's not so much that he has gunpowder or drugs, but he's drinking a very, very strong smelling liquor that is like it is distinctly strong smelling from a flask, and following that smell, the weasel kind of directs your vision to this guy, and you can see that you can't quite tell that he's like violent necessarily, but you can tell that he's getting really, really drunk.
Whoa. Hey, by the way, nobody bump into me while I'm doing this. It really fucks me up. Oh, man. Okay. Well, I mean, is that the extent of what I can do right now, or can I go handle that?
You can try to go handle that, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if anyone wants to watch my back while I do this. That's fine. It's just a drunk guy. Excuse me, sir. I'm gonna. I think that you should probably sleep it off this one. Sleep off this one. That's the way to do this. Great. Oh yes, I'm good with this job.
I'm busy.
Yes, I can see that. I think that you're a little bit too busy for this, to be honest. You should take that busyness back home.
I have to meet my friend later.
Oh, you're gonna meet somebody if you stick around here. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Hey, you know what? Let me show you this cool trick. Do sleight of hand, and I pull I pull his own wallet. I take his own wallet out of his pocket. And
okay, roll sleight of hand.
Yeah. Okay. Can I have advantage because he's drunk?
Yes.
Come on. All right.
Okay. You pull his coin purse. They don't have wallets. You pull his coin purse out of his.
You're so right.
Out of his pocket.
Hey man, look, I appear. Hey man, you dropped this. You shouldn't be here. You're falling all over the place. You're embarrassing yourself. I saw your wife. She's gonna see you. This is bad, dude.
Ugh. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I gotta go.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Yeah. Ren.
You're lucky I didn't take any money from you.
Ren, what do you want to do?
Well,
Perfect.
since my very productive conversation with the crow, I noticed amongst the crowd, particularly next to all the dock workers or many of the dock workers, these dock workers have shepherd dogs, or dogs that look like shepherd dogs. So I'm thinking I would like to reach out to these animals through my skills of communication and have them tell me something that perhaps their masters have been doing while at home. I mean, everyone knows that, people's pets, they see, everyone's secrets behind the scenes. They're sort of flies on the wall. So thinking, there might be something that these animals can tell us. And then if we need to chase them down,
Doubling
then,
down on
shepherd
talking
dogs,
to
so-
animals. So
Yeah.
just to set the table here a little bit, there is a magic spell in Dungeons and Dragons called Speak with Animals, which I sort of take to imply that you can't just do that without magic. But okay, on your way over there, you roll a perception check with advantage.
Okay, cool. So let's do this.
Wow. Okay, now we're getting lots of 20s and 21s. So, you're going to talk to this dog to see if it will speak to you. Just a normal dog, and you're like what's that guy's name? Caesar Romero, the dog whisperer. Is he the dog whisperer?
Yep.
Caesar
Yeah.
Milan? Yeah.
Okay, Caesar Milan.
Caesar Romero was the Joker.
Right. So you are Caesar Milan, right? In terms of your ability to handle dogs.
I feel like Caesar Milan isn't accepted anymore as the guy anyway.
Oh,
by the
okay.
way.
Does he actually have toxic dog practices?
I think so.
Well, this is the equivalent of Caesar Milan being like, okay, I know what to do. I'll ask this dog if it knows if its owner is suspicious, which, it seems like a little bit beyond even his considerable abilities and yours. But on the way over there, you see something that catches your eye. It is a little girl practicing with these sheets that were handed out, the Risuri National Anthem, with a barren accent. It is a vision that you saw in your dreams.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Next to her is a man who is kind of scowling, looking around the crowd and scowling.
Sir,
That's
is this
illegal.
your daughter? Is this your daughter? She has I see she's passing out sheets of music. Will there be a performance that she'll be providing, or are you with her?
He says, "She's not my daughter. I'm not, piss off."
Well, sir, I'm just okay. Well, that's there's no need for such strong language. Why are you so angry? What seems to be the issue right now?
He says, "Well, I'm planning on blowing up this ship, you see." No, he's...
Get
he says, "Look, are you going to take me away? And if not, I suggest you take yourself away."
Oh,
Sir,
classic
again,
reversal.
there's no need for that kind of language. And as I'm talking to him, I look behind his shoulder, over his shoulder, and make eye contact with Brachus, and on the other side, I look over at Ekthos. I'm not sure where Dipnip is. He must be questioning folks one by one, but I sort of make eye contact for them to sort of head on over. And I say, sir, can you tell me more about sort of your day and what you're doing here? And in the meantime, Brachus and Ekthos are starting to make their way through the crowd.
They are starting to make their way through the crowd, and this guy sees that and he says, "Look, I'm just enjoying." Yeah, Brachus is basically like swimming through this crowd of people. The guy says, I'm just trying to enjoy my time here. Look, am I gonna be arrested or something, or is this just a classic police intimidation tactic?
Well, sir, this is a big day, and we're all trying to have a good time, just making conversation. So,
Yeah.
If we keep it civil going forward, there shouldn't be any issues.
He seems to nod, and how do you want to proceed? He's not like, where do you want to take this?
At this point, I stop sort of walking through the crowd, and I make sure to stay close to this person, just to keep an eye in case things escalate. But I sense something is not right, so I don't just turn away and move on.
Okay, Dipnip, what are you doing?
I am. I've noticed that they've begun handing out these pieces of, the lyric sheets, and I'm gonna use that as a way of like quickly sorting through, like if anyone is like if anyone has gotten rid of them or like torn them up or isn't holding one, they're gonna go to the front of. I'm gonna be asking them next what they're doing, because presumably if they're, rejecting or unwilling to, participate in Resurian nationalism, then they might be more willing to carry out a crime.
Of course,
like we're anticipating.
Of course, the classic syllogism. Roll a perception check, straight up.
Cool. Nice.
So you do notice someone. You notice a few people who are like dismissive of the lyrics sheets. It's not like the one guy, but someone does catch your eye. A gentleman who is standing. He's kind of leaning against the side of a building at the side of the square. He seems to be particularly kind of dismissive of the affairs, and as you start to watch him a little bit more, because he's sort of jumped the queue in importance, you notice that he has like some plans of the ship.
How close am I to him?
Well, at this point, you've come up. You're sort of scanning through each of these people, and you are observing this guy from nearby.
Mm-hmm. Is there would Brachus and
Ship
I
plans.
have some sort of like signal or code word or like way we can get in touch with each other from a distance? Like, is there a...
Yeah. You sort of, as a practice here, that if you need to detain someone, that you would have to link up. So you kind of try to stay within eyesight of it. This isn't your first. This isn't your first crowd control scenario, much to both of your chagrin.
If at all possible, I would try to get Brachus's attention and like let him know that there is a very suspicious guy, and I'm gonna take up a position watching him.
Okay. So he, the guy notices that he's being watched, and takes the plans, throws them in a nearby bin, and starts to kind of walk very quickly away.
Definitely gonna follow that dude.
Brackus, are you in follow mode?
Me too. I'm swimming right through the crowd.
Okay.
Top speed.
I mean, he's walking, he's like leaving.
Not if I have anything to say about it.
So you want to grab him.
I want to grab him.
Okay.
I speed up behind him and I grab him by his arm.
Roll a strength check. This fellow will as well.
And why don't I see strength in the?
That's going to be right under where it says STR. It's the.
Oh,
the thing,
oh,
yeah.
right. It's that one. Got it.
Yep.
Yes.
I rolled for him as well.
Okay.
So you grab for him, but he pulls his arm away and keeps walking.
Oh, now I'm mad.
I'm gonna levitate him.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
He has to make a Constitution saving throw, I guess, against my spell
DC.
DC, which is 13.
Yeah. Okay, so this guy is walking, and all of a sudden he notices that he's doing a big Wile E. Coyote. All of a sudden he's not making forward progress. He's sort of walking on the air, and then he's like, son of... he's levitating off the ground. And now he starts like wildly, like sort of like he grabs some people's shoulders and like pushes himself, to propel himself forward. But in general, he's having a hard time moving around.
I'm gonna kind of go over to him and like grab some of his clothing, preferably like lapel area. Good day, sir. Do you mind if we ask you some questions?
It's really easy for you to grab hold of him, right? And at this point, he's not even trying to resist. And he says, "What do you want? I'm leaving."
I simply saw you with plans for this boat that is being launched, and you saw me and then ran away, which leads me to think there's something suspicious going on with you. Is this...
So now it's a crime to have secret plans for a newly launched vessel and to run from the police when they show some suspicion of you?
I'm going to let you sit in what you just said for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, now that I hear it to myself, it does seem like maybe it's a crime. Yeah. Okay.
And don't forget the arm. I grabbed your arm. You pulled it away.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't go around grabbing people.
It's my job to go around grabbing people, sir. And I'm going to need the people who I'm grabbing to be grabbable. Or
Look,
else.
I'm leaving. I saw you grabbed 2 of my friends already. You're wasting time talking to me. I'm already out of here. There's a 4th guy. I mean, you're wasting time. For no reason.
You gotta find more of these guys, y'all.
The more you talk, the less concerned I am with the efficacy of whatever criminal enterprise you guys have going.
That's true.
You just confessed to having...
Where's the other guy? Intimidate
where are
him,
your accomplices?
somebody. Oh,
I don't
wait,
know
you're
where-
bad at
yeah.
intimidating, aren't you?
I have no idea where Dafton is.
Dafton! Hey, somebody... Ekthos just yells out, Dafton! Dafton! Let's see if that works.
Dafton?
Because these guys are dumb. Dafton! Over here!
Daphne,
The
we got
plan's
your free
changing.
gift. Daphne, we have a
Daphne.
free gift for you. A free gift for Daphne.
Sure.
No, Dafton's like, what? It's like, Dafton, want to become famous? Buy followers, primes, and viewers.
So, so you see a big scarred. As soon as you start this, you see a big scarred, crazy looking dude, kind of make a break for the other side of the square, just kind of running away.
So Vin Diesel, basically.
With a lot of scars. Yeah. He's out of here.
Oh,
Daphne.
yeah. Ooh, yeah, there he is.
Look at that guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually send the weasel to run and trip him.
The weasel. Okay.
The weasel.
So
Gork! After him!
So are we able to catch up with him, or is he too far away?
Weasel's fast.
the weasel's fast. The weasel is scurrying underfoot. It runs toward Dafton, and you're going to try to trip him.
Yeah, with his 16%, with his 16 dexterity.
Okay.
Weasel
Roll
dexterity.
a weasel dexterity check.
Okay. Oh, I do have a. Hold on. It's gonna take me a moment.
This is going to be opposed
pull
to
up.
Dafton's own dexterity check, which I just rolled.
I see. Okay.
How far away is he from us?
At this point, he's 40 feet away.
Okay.
Ooh,
Oh
not a good roll for the weasel.
So
Gork, try.
So Dafton sort of does a like a tire run, like stutter step kind of thing, evades the weasel deftly, but in the process of so doing, bumps into a couple other people.
Good
and
distraction.
The weasel follows him, and it's sort of hard to tell what's happening for a moment, but you see it for a moment. You're disoriented because you see a much smaller version of the RNS Coaltongue sailing through the air before it lands on. So Dafton is sort of gone. This smaller RNS Coaltongue lands on the head of a bystander and breaks in half. And you can tell that it's a cake. This beautiful and pristine.
How much smaller? When you say smaller,
I would say 1 to 1,000 size scale. So, yeah,
Okay.
the Coaltongue cake is broken in
Bigger
half
than a person.
on somebody's head, and
no!
you hear just a scream of horror. Two, actually. One coming from a kobold, and one... Oh, hey, everything is possum. One coming from a kobold, and the other coming from a bari, a walrus person, as they watch the sort of pièce de résistance of their catering spread crumble. The weasel is on its way skittering back to you, but it's sort of like the crowd is now parting ways. So if you can imagine the tableau, Dafton's gone. Ume and Egberticus are standing next to their destroyed cake. There is a a sort of rivulet cleared through the crowd by Ekthos's weasel, and it sort of leads. It creates a strand that connects Egberticus and Ume on one side of the square, and Ekthos and the rest of the gang on the other. And let's pause here for a quick break for station identification.
Woo!
here
Noise.
on Twitch.
All right. We'll be back in a couple minutes. BRB.
Hell yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
And here we are being back. To recap for those who are freshly joining, hello Camilla. We met a few.
Eugene, stop doxing people on the chat.
Oh, hello, everything is possum. We met a few citizens of the city of Flint. We met first two caterers, one of them being a rear admiral in the employ of the Resurri Naval Service, Egberticus, and his assistant Ume, who were preparing some pastries for the launch of the RNS Coaltongue, a revolutionary new steamship that is set to create some more parity between Reser and Danor in their now Cold War, recently hot. We've also met Ekthos and Ren. They work for the Bureau of Modern Contraptions and Utilities, a branch of the Reser Ministry of Arcana and Learning. And they are also attending the launch of this ship as sort of delegates of the Bureau because it's a new technological thing. Hey, Grobe and Josh. So they're there in order to sort of observe, but in getting pulled into this assignment, they were also asked to do a little bit of crowd control work on behalf of the RHC, the Royal Homeland Constabulary, a sort of like a federal, kingdomal law enforcement department, of whom two agents are also part of this group. Brachus of Natarax, a really successful officer who's a Minotaur, and Dipnip, a human crumpled up piece of paper, who also happens to be an immortal being who's lived 1,000 lifetimes. And what we just saw was a case of pretty successful and quick work by Ekthos, Ren, Brachus, and Dipnip in sussing out sort of people who were trying to break up the launch of the Coaltongue and maybe
racial profiling.
Yep, they did some ethnic and cultural profiling to identify threats. They found these like dissatisfied laborers who are going to cause a stir, and we can't have that. But in trying to apprehend the last one, Ekthos sent out one of his miraculous inventions, a little mechanical weasel. Gork, named after the famous fairy tale of Gork the Weasel.
Classic story.
And
stealthy weasel,
which has the sort of the lasting moral of weasels have stealth.
Yeah. And they're mean.
A really important lesson. And so anyway, as he tried to kind of apprehend the last of these agitators with the weasel, he accidentally got underfoot or just in the way of Egberticus and Ume, who were carrying a big replica of the RNS Coaltongue as a cake that was going to be the centerpiece of their buffet service on the ship. The cake got upended, and I don't know. Maybe Egberticus and Ume will have something to say about that. Let's find out.
Blasphemous blowfish!
No.
What is going on? Who is responsible for this?
Oh,
My cake is ruined.
Oh, cake. Somebody's gonna pay for this.
Where's that weasel? Someone weasel
No!
back.
Ah, I see it.
It wasn't the weasel's fault. The weasel is here in service of the cake in the situation. Weasel and the cake are on the same side here. It's not. It's this. There was a whole plot of people trying to. Oof, they had plans and they're gonna blow the thing up. It's
We don't care
Why
about
am
your
I
grand plans.
defending
This
this?
cake had steam coming out of it.
that is unfortunate.
Your
This
cake
was-
died a noble death.
A noble
In
death?
service.
How dare you speak to me about noble deaths, my man? Who are you? Explain yourself, soldier.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm Brachus of Natarax, and I know all about nobility, considering how noble I am, and all the great sacrifices I've made. So when I see a cake sacrifice its life for the greater good, I think I'm the first person to ask whether or not that's what happened, and if what you should say about it.
Now, Brachus, don't get carried away. I'm not quite sure this is our fight. Can I ask you why, if I seem to have, if I've made the correct observations, why
He's
is
dying.
it that you entrusted this very valuable cake to such a suspicious person?
A suspicious person? Who do you mean?
Yeah.
I thought there was a suspicious person who had the cake and then fled and the cake dropped?
Well, we saw the cake falling all to pieces, and then the weasel came involved. That's what we're saying. It was already in a situation.
I'm sorry. There
That's
just
my
seem to be
story.
too many moving pieces in this story. I'm
Why,
afraid
this is a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
This is.
You know what?
Cool,
This,
Ume.
this cake is quite tasty. What is this frosting made of?
Red.
Buttercream. Thank you
Oh.
for noticing.
I'm gonna.
It's quite exquisite.
Try some.
But no, we would never entrust the carrying of such a precious
Wait,
item
wait.
to someone else.
When
we were
did you
asked by
last see the
Admiral
cake?
himself.
Well, I think that we're wasting our time squabbling with each other. Clearly, none of us wanted the cake to be destroyed. So, we're all here in service of this event going smoothly. So let's. We're so sorry. I don't know how to. I don't know how to shift this. I don't think we have time for a quick fire challenge to whip up a new one.
You all will
Yeah.
come with us into the kitchen and make a new cake.
Oh.
I don't know if we can help you make a
I
cake,
like it.
but would it make you feel better if the person who smashed your cake went to prison for a very long time?
How about if you went to cake school?
or cake school?
Became an apprentice.
Would that make both of you feel good about what happened? If he went to cake school and became a cake apprentice?
Are you a
or was
genie?
locked up?
Well, that is
think
the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, let him have it. Yeah.
Wait, which one? The locking up or the cake school?
The
Oh,
cake
yeah.
school.
I'm separating
So
myself.
you like the idea of locking him up?
I
in
think
a
this
school.
Boss, what are we gonna do with these fools?
Well, they are going to come and help us bring the rest of the pastries inside safely and securely.
Ren, what do you think?
pastries-
Is this worth our time? I guess so. You help with pastries.
I don't know how
We
I
went
feel
from-
about locking up pastries. Pastries are meant to be gobbled, were they not?
What?
Eventually, my man.
So we went. So we're going from
Wait.
foiling a terrorist plot to putting away pastries.
Yeah, wait,
Eugene, do
are we
I
not worried?
outrank these guys? Like, do they have to do what I tell them?
Highly possible.
I mean, you're not part of the same service, but you are a senior officer. So it would be like an admiral in the Navy talking to a FBI agent. I mean, you're part of the same
Yeah.
government.
So
Okay.
here's the thing, guys. Ekthos pulls out his little
Rear Admiral
card.
to you, my man.
I'm so sorry, Admiral, but Stover Delft told us to be in charge of crowd control. So as long as you
Well,
think
clearly
they'll
not
be
doing a very good
okay
job.
with this, well, you know, we find that matters of exploding the whole thing kind of top the list.
Right on
things to
cue,
stop.
Stover saunters over. Stover saunters over.
Stover Sanchez over.
As the crowd begins to, at this point they're sort of roiling, and people have now let them in to, by people I mean the police have now let them onto the bridge, which leads from the Royal Square, which is on the mainland, to Fleet Square, which is sort of a shipyard island where the actual ship will depart from. So it seems, relatively calm. There's no huge disturbance. At this point, you're talking to Stover, and a fella shows up. Dipnip and Brachus, this guy is familiar to you. He is sort of the not self-appointed, the unofficial leader of the kind of Docker labor agitation movement. He's not like a violent guy by any means, but he wants to be let in to the event, and the police aren't letting him through because he's a known entity around town. He's a half orc, although he looks quite human, and he has a kind of like a scar across his cheek from a policeman's knife from a few years ago. This shock of white and a head full of curly hair. His name is Thames Grimley, and he's not really talking to you, but he is there, and you take note of it. But Stover is talking to you, and he first of all is asking how, if you saw anything suspicious in the crowd. Did anyone seem to be trying to, I don't know, destroy any part of this event, or generally cast a pall over the festivities in which we are all meant to be indulging?
Well, yes. I mean, we found a man over there who had possession of some pretty detailed plans. If you'll look where I'm pointing, he's still floating.
A definite
He's
tall
floating
caster.
over there. So I suggest further questioning is in order.
Oh, yes, we can take him away and make sure that he will never be paid a fair day's wage, and never try to organize on behalf of his working brethren ever again.
Yeah.
Great work.
Hooray!
This feels great.
I think Egbertic is just like, and he sort of like gestures towards his cake.
I see this Bari gentleman gesturing toward a cake.
Excuse me, that is Rear Admiral to you.
Forgive
myself
me,
and-
Your Majesty, Your Rear Admiralness.
Much better, thank you.
What can I do
My
you for?
Esteemed colleague and I have been charged by the Admiral himself to create all of the delicious delights for today's celebration, and your goons have caused this cake to be ruined. I'd like an explanation, please, and then I would like
Damn,
an
that's
escort
us.
for the rest of my pastries into the buffet room.
He
Ooh,
says-
pastry escort. That's a good. If you can get that full time, that's not a bad gig. Pastry escort.
I assure you, if my goons caused any damage to befall
You
your...
call them goons too.
Wait a backs, man.
If these goons caused any damage to your
Stings.
delicious delights, did you say? Was that right?
Yes.
If they caused any fucking harm to your delicious delights, you have my
Fucking harm.
sincerest apologies and my
It's
most
a family stream, Eugene.
heartfelt condolences. It's not a family stream, it has the mature tag. For rated
Mature
M for language.
families.
Oh.
This is
For
a
mature
dirty stream.
families.
This is a dirty stream.
Dirty stream for perverts.
Dirty families for pervert families.
Look, I should say, you know, we've got Grimsley over there trying to cause trouble. We've got these
Generally,
we've got these workers who are trying to, I don't know, throw an egg at the governor. This all seems to be a little more pressing than you said. Delicious delights. Is that right?
Yes.
Keeps confirming this.
Do you have Brackus, take a note that there was delicious delights which faced considerable harm due to the actions
Ooh,
of
now
the
you're really
goons.
taking a note.
Please take further note that 2 of the goons were supplied by Lorna Elk of the BMCU, the Black Rebel Motorcycle University. And Rear Admiral Egberticus, you have my most sincere condolences on when it comes to the subject of your pastry and delicious delights. Are you guys proceeding along the bridge to the Fleet Square? By the way, I assume so because that's kind of like where the crowd is going.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
Are they helping us carry the rest of the pastries? I mean, I would assume that.
You have some
have
of your
some sort
own
of
goons
cart.
as well
Okay, we have our own
to carry.
goons. Okay,
Yes, but
good.
you wanted to handle the cake on your own. The crowd, by the way, has sort of descended on the cake and is, gobbling up little parts of it. I mean, it's still good cake. Like Ren liked
Are
it. Ren,
things that desperate in this city that they're just eating ground cake? Like,
You
Is that
wanted
good?
crowd control.
hey, ground cake is better than no cake.
obtain more cake. Keep this crowd placated.
The cake is too
Play cake
bitter. Add sweetness.
The first of the noble carriages are at this point starting to arrive. You guys are still sort of standing around. Like the 4 of you don't really know why Egberticus and Ume are still kind of standing there, but they seem to really feel like they need to, get some sort of compensation. But the crowd on the bridge is doing its job. They're cheering, throwing flowers, doing folk songs and dances, blah, blah, blah. So Stover kind of takes a look at this, spits out another mouthful of tobacco juice. And Egberticus and Ume, you guys are carefully watching this halfling chef who's carrying a tray of chocolate confections, more delicious delights. toward the docked Coaltongue. At this point, Stover turns to you and smiles, sort of revealing this mouthful of black tobacco juice. Only the finest for our king, right?
Right.
Yes. The king is a man of God, as a man of the saints, so he only gets the finest.
Yeah, feeding the king a bad donut would be like shoving one right in God's mouth.
I will ignore that. I will ignore this blasphemy.
You all agree with me.
Just like my
I
mother
feel like
used to
Agverticus
say.
probably at this point is like, he's probably realizing that he's not going to get the apology that he is hoping for, but he's probably starting to get distracted by the actual work of setting up the treats.
So Stover says, look, before you naval men go about your important business, maybe it's best you also get this briefing, as this does come from the Central Planning Committee for the event. But we here on the RHC and these esteemed delegates are about to earn our pay. So lots of nobles about. First rule, golden rule, don't make a scene, don't embarrass yourselves, and definitely don't talk to any of the nobility unless they talk to you first. All right? We got that?
I know how to handle myself, thank you.
I mean, I am noble for the record, but okay.
That's how you spot a nobleman, they tell you all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm very noble.
I'm so noble. Okay, so...
I'm so noble.
He then says, good, I think we're basically not at all clear on that rule. I'll move on. Second, if something goes wrong, try to handle it yourselves. Me personally, I'm going to be busy applying my not inconsiderable charms to every important person here. Make sure the RHC gets more than its share of funding next year. So the constabulary doesn't get by on just goodwill and pretty faces, but, you know, it does help. He smiles again. And third, you know, you've done some good work so far. I guess you cake people too. So I've got a surprise for you. There's someone I want you to meet.
Ooh.
He grabs his cane and leads you to the gangplank of the Coaltongue. But he's not pursuing the halfling chef. Rather, he takes you to a straight-backed regal man awaiting you, staring at you basically at this point. Everybody well, you can, I think all of you recognize Principal Minister Harkover Lee, the King's chief advisor and personal bodyguard. He's said to be maybe the most powerful mage in all of Reeser. He's been an advisor to kings for generations. In fact, even back when King the one from 2 ago, whose name you got it. Even when King Lorcan defeated the Coven of Witches up on Cauldron Hill, Harkover Lee was there, an integral part of that battle. And here he stands to say hello. He says,
That dastardly man.
So these are the ones that you were wanting me to meet, Stover? And Stover says, yes, sir, this is them. This is, well, okay, so there are these cake people here, but, Delicious Delights stewards. And then here are their pastry escorts. Wow, this is
nice work if you can get it.
What an honor. he smiles, sort of acknowledging that that Stover is making like a joke, I guess, about it. But he says, "I've just finished checking the ship for magical threats, and now I must circulate. But I did want to meet you, as I appreciate the help that you offer in securing our vessel for the evening's festivities. I think, sorry, this is my way of inviting you to come aboard."
Okay.
Cool.
I think
But what about the
Egberticus
crowd?
would-
Is it controlled?
The crowd seems to be mostly friendly at this point.
Very thorough.
Well, if you say so.
I asked for your presence in particular. Well, I asked Stover, and he recommended you because after the fireworks and banquet, the king is planning a major announcement about the fate of our kingdom, and it would be good to have some constables and constables' associates for some extra eyes and ears on the event. If you would be so kind.
Well, given
that.
that we're here
Yeah.
and the previous task has been completed, yes, we're available to serve the king's needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me where to stand, and I will stand and stare at whoever you want.
Exactly what the reassuring message that I wanted to hear. There's a bit of a more sensitive point, if I may.
You may.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
I appreciate your grace in this moment. There are a few more recalcitrant guests this evening who might need, shall we say, corralling. And as he says this, he looks in the direction of one of the checkpoints where a guest and her handmaiden are disembarking from a horse-drawn carriage. And you see clearly, like, he's nodding toward this person to say, "Hey, this is who I'm talking about here." And most of you don't recognize her, but Brachus and Ekthos, you do. Egberticus, you do as well. This more, sort of broad-shouldered, very regal and stately-looking woman, rich, dark skin, and a kind of natural hairstyle, is Duchess Ethelyn of Shale, the king's sister. She's known to be somewhat free-spirited. And so Minister Lee then confirms and says, this Duchess Ethelyn is, she can be a bit hard to control in these environments, and while far be it for you to tell her what to do, you can make gentle suggestions here and there, and that is all I ask.
What kind of suggestions? What's this Duchess gonna get up to?
Just make sure she doesn't do anything embarrassing. She may make a show of the event or try to make her presence felt overmuch.
Ah.
Man, I hate telling people what to do. I hate harshing people's vibes, but I'll try to see if I can.
Bro, I hear that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
I love telling people what to do. I'll tell her to do everything.
And that
You
sounds
say it, I'll
perfect
tell
to
her.
me.
About how much leeway do we have? Like, is lethal force acceptable, or?
Ooh.
I would say lethal force, unacceptable. Really, any kind of physical contact you should stay away from, non-consensual especially. And just make sure to if you see the situation go awry, get me. How about that? We'll just say, come get me.
Get Stover.
Go
Okay.
get
Nope.
Harkover.
Oh, Harkover.
That's right. Or you know what? You can get Stover and he'll get me too. That's fine.
Stover
We need eyes and
or
ears.
Harkover.
Get Stover.
We
Get
need
Harkover.
eyes and ears.
We need eyes and ears. You are the
Eyes
eyes
and
and
ears.
ears. Got it?
Got it.
Got it.
So Minister Lee says that he must prepare for the king's arrival. He turns around and promptly takes off. Stover goes with him, and turning back as he walks up the gangplank, says, "Remember what I said about rule number 1? Actually, no. Remember what I said about rule number 2. Don't bother me." And then he heads off to mingle. So over the next half hour, more people arrive. All told, the 100-person crowd in this smaller square is about a quarter dignitaries, like nobles, merchants, military folks, half retinues and personal servants, and then a quarter local staff, and then plus the crowd. So what do you guys do during this sort of pre-departure time? What are your priorities? What are you trying to get done? Let's start with Egberticus and Ume, who you have a different job to do as well, or maybe instead.
Yeah, so I think when Harkover was there, even though Harkover was probably speaking more to the officers in the group, Egberticus really felt like Harkover was speaking to him, so he's kind of puffed himself up. He gave a little salute, but now, in addition to being sort of on the lookout, he's also still tending to all the delicious treats, and he
Sure, the delicious
is signaling
delights.
over to Ume to rearrange the centerpiece, since the centerpiece has been destroyed, and to sort of replace it with some other cakes and jellies and things.
Yes, of course. Of course.
As you're rearranging things, a tiefling walks over to you. He looks quite sort of like comfortable to be there. He has an air of confidence about him. It might come from the wine glass in his hand, which you notice is like, with every step, a little bit spills out of it. And he says, "Wow, this looks great. I would love to try some."
No. Get your hands off of that.
Excusez-moi. Whom do you address
Who are
this
you,
way?
sir?
I am Monsieur Jeff Massange.
Well,
The inventor of
Monsieur
this ship.
Assange, we have a very important piece to arrange here.
I apologize. I said my name more French than I intended. My name is a Jeff Massad.
Bonjour to you.
But rest assured, though my name may sound a little bit less French than it initially did, I am a 100% a Danoran.
Oh, well.
And we sound like French people. And we won't talk about this anymore.
And then, so I think Egberticus kind of wrinkles his nose a little bit. As a veteran of the last war, he is not a huge fan of people from Danor at all. And he's sort of like, "Fine, Ume, let the man have a pastry."
So he says, well, thank you for granting me permission. Believe me, I take pastry very seriously. So he takes his hand, to grab a beautiful scone, and then is suddenly distracted by one of the kind of cupcakes that you prepared, and just sticks his finger right in the frosting on one, licks it, and he's like, "Oh, I could die and be a happy man."
Well, you better take it if you're going to stick your fingers into it.
Don't mind if I do. He
No
grabs
matters.
one, and he says, "Now, may the two gentlemen accompanying me have one as well?" He gestures to these two burly guys at either shoulder.
Are they also tieflings? Are they also from Danor?
You can't tell. They're just guys. They're not tieflings. They're one is a dwarf, and one is a human.
I think, Egberticus is like, kind of sighs and just sort of says, "Yes, have some cakes."
They grab an entire pie. One of your cranberry pies that you're very proud of.
The
and-
Norans.
And walk away.
Boss, if you want me to strangle them, I will.
It's using all my strength not to. Should I? I mean, I guess the question is like, do I think that these guys are like, I have like divine sense? Should I like, do I sort of get a sense that these guys are up to no good, other than just being like poor, having poor manners?
No.
Okay.
They have
So-
Denoran manners.
Yeah.
They're quite informal.
Well, that
And
is
are they
obvious.
continuing to walk away?
Yeah, they're walking.
done?
They're
At this
leaving.
point, they're done.
Yeah, yeah,
And this Jeffrey fellow, is he leaving with them too?
yeah. I mean,
You
not
may-
leaving like they're going to be around. They're circulating.
You may keep an eye on those Denorans.
Disgusting.
I don't want them sticking their fingers in
people.
any more of my pies. I didn't win the war for this sort of treatment of my delicious delights.
Brachus, Dipnip, Ekthos, and Ren. What are you guys trying to do? Or I mean, like, what are you? How are you milling about?
Ekthos honestly hates this sort of job, so he's really trying to look as busy as possible.
I hear that.
And Ekthos, do we have everything we need before we shove off on the RNS Coaltongue?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. You know, I feel like I'm well prepared for anything. You know, so far it's like we're harshing people's vibes, so I could do that just by talking. But
All right.
I think we're ready.
All right.
Ren, as you are, you're kind of walking about and getting ready, you overhear, among the many conversations you overhear, is one that's being engaged in by another person that almost everybody knows, Benedict Pemberton. He is a
Oh, yeah, good old Benny.
yeah, good old Benny. He's
Benny P.
the founder of Pemberton Industries. They are an experimental arms manufacturer and just general sort of like a technology boosting company. Meaning like
What kind of experimental arms?
you name it, they got their fingers in every pie. They
Oh.
love the
your
future.
fingers out of my pie.
They're racing bravely towards the future. And you
Bravely, you say?
in their that's their slogan, racing bravely towards the future. He looks to be about in his
Heard that one
50s,
before.
but he has the mannerisms and like the verve of a very young man, but the sort of guy who, you know, he's known in his public persona to just sort of like always joke about being an old man, if you know what I mean. He's like
Like a Richard
"Oh,
Branson kind of character.
I think you got it right on the money. But you hear him hobnobbing with some other guests, and you know, just out of the corner of your ear, and he says, "And yes, on Mama's farm, we were cooking pigs like nobody's business." And that catches you, that the sort of uncanny nature of that phrase, which, why would anybody say anything like that? Catches you off guard. And so you sort of are looking at him, and you see him still carrying on in conversation, take out a short folding knife from his pocket, just laughing and talking, and flick it open. And without breaking eye contact with the people he's talking to, he turns his arm and beckons you over, Ren.
Okay. So I noticed him calling me over. I suspiciously, not so quickly, make my way over to see what he needs. And so keeping my distance, hearing him talk about, cooking these pigs in such a nonchalant way, I don't get a good sense that he's very, what's the word?
Compassionate?
Compassionate fellow. But, I've heard a lot about Benny, and so, I'm intrigued. I want to hear what he has to say. So I say, Sir Pemberton, how can I help you?
As you're walking over, and he's like, well, that's about a hair's breadth of a frog's leg away. Again, he does not look at you. He's still kind of engaged in some story that he pretends to be enjoying that one of the other guests is telling him. And without addressing you, he turns his arms toward you, takes the knife, and grabs your arm. And without explaining, he cuts a single loose thread that was dangling from your sleeve. And sort of pats you, and continues talking.
Sir, the clothes that are on my back are meant for me and me alone. I would appreciate you explaining
you're fine. No,
what
that's
you just did.
That's all right. You're fine.
I'd like to. Sir, I don't appreciate that. Either return the thread to me, or explain to me what's happening here.
I was merely fixing your attire for this stately affair. I thought you might appreciate it. And he sort of smiles, and looking for empathy from the other guests. Like, who is this insane person asking for a thread back?
What is it that you're doing here, sir? Do you find pleasure in attending affairs just for the mere pleasure of taking home a couple threads?
Son, I have always found pleasure in attending affairs.
Wow. Okay. Don't really know what to say to that, but
Evidently not. Now, it may be that I'm such a decrepit old man, but was a time when removing an unsightly, pestering thread from from another attendee's sleeve might be met with a humble thank you.
maybe another time, another place. Good day to you, sir.
And a good day to you, sir. He turns back to his conversation.
And at that point, I return to
Getting weird pedophile vibes.
Motley Crew.
Thread man.
Hey, what was that guy doing to your thread?
I have no idea.
That shit was crazy.
A weird fool to say the least.
Weird fool is right.
And do we? Does anyone in the crowd? Does anyone in our crew know more about old Benny than what just happened?
You guys can make a knowledge check to see what you know about him.
I'll do a knowledge check.
Ooh, check me.
Check.
Well, wait,
Knowledge.
Ume, you're not involved.
Oh, I'm not in there.
You're not in there.
Would that be history or?
Yeah, sorry, history.
I got it. History.
You?
Okay.
No, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys know that basically that there's a lot of mystery surrounding Pemberton's appearance on the scene, as it were. He's got a sort of like everybody knows that this homely kind of homespun air is a put on. It's just not that clear like what the real deal is. You know what I mean? Some people say he's a lot older than he appears. Some people say he's a lot younger than he appears. But people are generally suspicious of his weird vibe.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, so he's just a weird dude. He continues to just be a weird dude.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And is he a nobleman? Is he a merchant?
He's just a rich guy, very rich guy, extremely rich.
Okay. Okay.
He's one of the most wealthy people around, basically.
Okay.
Now, Dipnip, a different conversation catches your ear. Some people may not be aware. Probably most people who are close to you aren't aware. But you are, of course, an adherent of the philosophy of Hyde Eschatal, a guy from the kingdom of Drakkar who leads a kind of movement of. It's a philosophy that is very focused in the endings of things, and it's a Gnostic type of movement. Like there's a real value in knowledge and kind of seeking enlightenment in that way, and so someone speaking about it is always going to catch your attention. So what you hear is a conversation between two men, one whom you know to be a very famous ship captain, Rutger Smith. He's the captain of the RNS Impossible, and you know him because, I mean, A, he's famous, but B, the Impossible often helps with like naval missions that the RHC has to do. So you've worked with him before, or under him, more likely. But also he is piloting, because he's one of the most well-known captains, he is piloting the Coaltongue for this kind of maiden voyage. But he's something of an armchair philosopher. He's discussing political theory with this black-bearded dwarf. And Captain Smith is endorsing the writings of this old monk, William Miller, and his Millerist movement, who would say that all conflicts can be resolved through sufficient understanding and a sort of exchange of knowledge between opposing cultures, whereas the dwarf counters with something, a kind of like mainstream eschatology theory, basically saying that sure, you can fix things through knowledge, but any ordered system will inevitably be ruined by some random accident. So a single misunderstanding would doom any Millerite theory of peace. And then they're both like, yes, quite, and, puff on huge cigars and are really enjoying their philosophical conversation on the eve of this, or on the very cusp of this boat launch, and it strikes you as interesting that this military man, Captain Smith, is so interested in kind of like conflict aversion theory. But as you're caught up listening to this fascinating conversation. Duchess Ethelyn walks up to Brachus, and she gives you a tap on the shoulder.
What is it, miss?
Dame, if it's all right to you.
Very well, dame.
It is my understanding that you have some sway over the arrangements of this event.
One could say I have a bit of sway, yes.
She thinks that you're making a advance or something. So she's
She's
sort of
wrong.
If you could do an old lady a kindness. The air here leaves me winded, and the company is, frankly, beginning to give me a headache. I know my brother's party is gonna run late. I need a room I could take a little cat nap in. I'd be ever so grateful if you could arrange this for me.
Considering what I've heard about, this is my inner monologue. Considering what I've been thinking, I've heard about this lady and all the trouble she could cause with her mischief, her antics. It seems this would be a great thing to just get her shuffled off to a room where she can't cause any hubbub. So I'm all for it, and I say, yes, dame. Let's find you a room to rest your weary footsies.
Fair enough. So, she takes her leave, goes back to her handmaiden, this very, very enchanting looking elven woman. And pretty soon, with pomp and grandeur. Well, first of all, do you do anything about that immediately?
I ask Harkover. I find Harkover, and I say, "Hey, where's there a good room to jam this troublemaker?"
You want to jam Dame Ethelyn?
Yeah, Dame Ethelyn. Let's get her. Let's just get her. Come on, ugh. Just get her out of here. I'm sick of staring at her.
Look, I'm sorry. I'm not the ship's porter, so I can't find you a room. I am...
Fair enough, fair enough. What, do you know the ship's porter?
I don't know the ship's porter. I was hoping to leave these trifling affairs to the likes of you.
Okay, well, let's say, I just find a room. Can I just, find an empty room? That's cool, right?
You can find an empty room.
Great, okay, I'm gonna go. So I go and I just start opening doors.
All right. So every room is empty on this ship. It's a brand new ship.
Great. Okay, so I find an empty room.
What's your plan? Are you going to tell her now, or when you get on board?
Right. Yeah. As soon as we're on board, as quickly as possible. I'm gonna say, right this way, dame.
Okay. She can't get on board yet. It's not boarding time yet. They have to wait for the king to arrive.
Oh, even so I don't have the authority to just shuffle her on board real quick.
I suppose you could. Do you want to do that?
Yeah. Just get her out of the way. What if she does some goofy shit with the king? Get her in a room.
Good idea. So you grab her, direct her back to the ship, and place her in one of the rooms on the berth deck, and she is gone from the square. And as soon as you return, there's a trumpeter fanfare, a recitation and singing of the national anthem, and the king's carriage has arrived. It's this elaborate golden thing with the bear, the symbol of Reeser, carvings emblazoned on the side of it, beautiful reliefs in gold all over it. I mean, this is a grand ass carriage. there are also elite guards that are sort of lining the bridge. They open the door, and the first person to come out is not the king, but rather the city's governor, Roland Stanfield, who comes out of the carriage. He is, like Harkover, a fixture of Flint, well, and Reeser in general. He emerges from the carriage and sort of waves hello to the crowd, who is not enthusiastic about greeting him. Then you see, finally, King Eodan himself emerge. He gives a one-sided smile to the crowd and is greeted by his principal secretary, Harkover Lee. You can see him sort of look around. You imagine that he's probably trying to find his sister, but she's not there. And at that point, the crowd starts to, like, children are throwing flowers, and the crowd starts to sing the traditional crown anthem as he makes his way over to the gangplank. It's a sort of organized procession. He takes a bottle of champagne to the prow of the ship, smashes it on it, announcing that the ship shall be formally known as the Royal Naval Ship Coaltongue. Then, smashes the bottle. Steam whistle sounds. The ship starts to rumble, and black smoke starts to billow from the ship's stacks. It's a little disconcerting, I guess, because the sky had just been beginning to clear of fog, and there were nice blue hues, and they had these fragrant smells that we mentioned before of like flowers and fruit, and then it's very conspicuous that the air is suddenly filling with black smoke coming from the ship. It's not a beautiful sight or inspiring sight as opposed to the rest of the ship, but it does convey power, and everyone. The dignitaries begin to board while guards are checking the guest list. Do you guys get on board?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
let's get on that boat.
Well,
So
I
do
guess the
the-
question is there are all of so the food is not on the boat?
The food has been loaded on at this point.
Okay.
So at this point,
So
are
yes,
the
we're
six
definitely-
of us in one crew, or is Ume and Egberticus separate?
At this point, you guys are one
'Cause I
crew.
thought we had been by the tables with all the food for a while. So is there another table of food on the boat?
Yes. So there is.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You're with the kind of staging area, let's call it.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you're where the food is. You're where the food is being taken from to the ship's galley, where it will, and then it'll be placed from the galley. They're going to put the finishing touches on it, right? Use little tweezers to arrange the raspberries and the orange segments and whatever, and then take it out to the actual buffet serving area on the top deck of the ship.
Okay. I think I got confused.
Makes
as
sense?
to where we were before. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, so we're just following.
Very
I would
dedicated
imagine
to
I'm just
your
following
craft.
the food.
Oh,
I'm just
so
supervising.
dedicated. Yeah. So you are boarding, and everyone is enjoying light refreshments, crudité and hors d'oeuvres on the main deck, and the ship weighs anchor and sweeps toward the center of the harbor, and it's a procession that almost mirrors what the King's procession looked like, where these 8 ships, sail ships, so not steamships, are sort of waiting for it in formation, and then all together, these four-masted ships and the Coaltongue go out to the center of harbor, and sail out to the open sea, just as the afternoon is beginning to turn to evening. So you're now aboard the mighty Coaltongue.
How many other people are on the Coaltongue?
Just about 100. Not all too many.
Wow.
So it's not totally full. All right.
It's not totally full. No, it's not. It's sort of in ceremonial mode.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
It's quite the scene.
Yeah. It's a beautiful ship. This ship is primo, top ship.
Tremendous.
Yeah, it's a tremendous ship. That's right. Very cool looking, very sort of a very spirited engagement as well. You know, people are up there laughing and singing. There's a band. There's a little bit of dancing, light dancing, right? So you're getting also, of course, the sounds of the sea and the kind of a little bit more of the maritime feel.
Gotcha. So it's like before the Titanic went down, that kind of vibe.
Oh yeah, way before.
Everything's cool.
You're not even thinking about the
Everything's
Titanic
cool.
going down.
It's when Leo goes up to the
violinists.
the very front, and he's like, "Woo!"
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good times.
I'm the king of the world. I believe that's the line.
Exactly.
The king
That's
does
right.
that. The king goes on the front of the ship, and he's being held up by Harkover, and he's like, "I'm the king of the world."
But
So-
actually,
As soon as you get on board, there's like a greeter there, or there's actually a rotating team of greeters, and this one is the one who's assigned to your group. It's a young man, very excitable and bubbly, and he says, "Hello, sirs and ladies. Welcome to the RNS Coaltongue. My name is Fitzcairn. I'll be your attendant this evening."
All right, Fitzcairn.
Yes.
Okay.
Go get him,
You're a good
Fitzcairn.
lad. You're a
Go
good
get
lad,
him.
Karen.
May I please offer you a tour of the boat?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. That'd be great.
I would love to offer you a tour. Can I please offer you a tour of the boat?
Yes. Give us a tour.
Okay, very well. Please follow me. So Fitzcairn takes you, and you see like other people are kind of going through the tour process. So you're not the only ones, but there's all kinds of people kind of milling about, getting the same kind of tour. So this is the kind of like the moment from the Life Aquatic where he's like, "Let me tell you about my boat." So let's have a look at the boat. I'll give you guys a quick tour.
Fancy.
She beautiful.
Very beautiful boat. So he says he sort of is clearly reading from like a rehearsed, not reading, but he's reciting from a rehearsed speech. Please feel free to interrupt me with questions if you have any at any time. I am here to be of service to you as your guide of the RNS Coaltongue. We'll begin our tour on the top deck. The RNS Coaltongue has a wooden hull sheathed with 5-inch thick iron plating, engraved with subtle magical icons that grant both defensive and offensive power. Measuring 205 feet long with a beam of 50 feet and draft of 20 feet, this warship has 3 lower decks and a 2-story command bridge amidships the main deck. Wait, I forgot that part. But let's move on. The steam engine, powered by a heating boiler with burning fire gems inside, gives the vessel a top speed of 18 knots. A heavy turret on the main deck, which you can see here, he points it out, at the front of the ship. A heavy turret on the main deck fires enchanted shells in a forward-facing arc. 23 cannons line the gun deck, which is the second deck below the main deck, which is capped abaft by the galley. If the ship is being pursued, the galley can be converted into a firing platform. Below the gun deck is a berth deck. Brackus, the berth deck is where you took Duchess Evelyn earlier.
Got it.
Capped by the ship's magazine at the fore. So here. And quarters for the ship's wizard and guests at the aft. Side note, every ship like this has to have a wizard because it's not powered purely by technological means. Sorry, where was I? Some guy asked me a question.
Something about a ship wizard.
Oh, right, the wizard. Yes, the wizard stays in the aft of the berth deck.
Right in the aft.
Finally, the bottom deck contains the engine, the fuel bins, and a number of speaking tubes with which to communicate with various sections of the ship. This is where the captain must stand to direct the brand. The brand is the gun on the top deck. All the lower decks have sections of grated floor panels to help circulate air, and you can see through clear from the bottom. And he sort of points limply up as he takes you to the bottom. And indeed, you can see clear through to the top. And so with that, he kind of walks you back upstairs to the top deck where people are milling about and enjoying themselves. On the Coaltongue's main deck sits an elaborate glass frame reinforced by magic to be strong as steel. And it is shaped in a half cylinder to resemble the boiler of a train locomotive. He pauses for you to acknowledge that it in fact does look like a train locomotive.
It looks great. It looks really great, kid.
While its design is partially aesthetic, it is intended to evoke the power of Reeser's new industry. This innovative structure is Reeser's secret weapon against Danoran warships, a magical capacitor. Excess energy from the engine is stored within the structure. Even while storing its full power, the interior of the capacitor is perfectly safe to walk through.
Wow.
He gestures. And its expansive windows let it serve as a venue for ceremonies and celebrations. But the capacitor's real purposes are to power attack spells cast by the ship's war mages and to charge the brand. And he points to the main gun at the front. We return now to the brand, which is capable of firing a massive blast of pyromantic energy from the ship's figurehead, often enough to destroy a smaller vessel or cripple a larger one, burning an image into whatever surface it strikes. Its range is limited to about 100 feet, and after firing, it takes hours to recharge the capacitor, but combined with the Coaltongue's speed and maneuverability, the brand can deter any attack by the Danoran Navy. Finally, I will point out that the gun ports, windows, and main deck are all ringed by a thin inlay of gold wire, and as we all know, this prevents teleportation across the barrier. Thank you very much for participating in my tour of the Coaltongue. Sorry, our tour of the Coaltongue.
So you're saying nobody can teleport on or teleport off the ship?
Nobody can teleport on or off the ship because of the gold inlays contained in the ship's windows, main deck, and gun ports.
Huh.
Do we tip you?
I was just going to ask if you could tip me, please.
I put what's like I put a bronze piece in his palm.
Thank you for putting this bronze piece in my palm. I sincerely appreciate it, sir.
You're a nice kid. You're very nice.
I love you.
You know a lot, kid. You know a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, go do the next tour now.
All right, you take care now. He scampers off to do the next tour, and you're back on the main deck of the Coaltongue.
Well, how about this boat, you guys?
I'm particularly impressed with the teleportation prevention mechanisms.
Yeah.
It's truly
I'm
impressive.
impressed by the big gun.
Is there a casino on this ship?
Good
There-
question.
No
Where are the
casino on the ship.
slots?
It is a military
Any
ship.
slots?
No
Lucky
slots, no
eights?
casino.
Well, the fellas gotta let out some steam. You know what I mean?
Yeah, where
The
do you
ship
let
is
off
perfectly
steam on this
capable
ship?
of letting off steam through its giant smokestacks.
Okay, Fitzcairn too.
I think Egberticus is very impressed that the galley can be turned into a firing, that it serves a military purpose as well.
Oh, it sure does. All right. Near 9 o'clock, the Coaltongue is sitting anchored just within sight of shore, surrounded by this huge escort. A starry blanket of night is covering the sky, and a quarter moon peaks above the eastern horizon. The crew have set up an outdoor kitchen. Egberticus and Ume, you guys are supervising that. And the interior, the capacitor part, that is perfectly safe to walk through, is being used as a banquet room. And I think we can probably call it there
All right.
for
Nice.
session 1.
Nice. Got the
Amazing.
image.
Well, welcome aboard the RNS Coaltongue.
Ahoy, ahoy.
Woo!
Ahoy, hoy.
Yep.
Coaltongue.
There's the Coaltongue ticket.
Coaltongue.
Cold tongue.
Excellent work averting crisis, and and making it to some of the evening's festivities. Hooray!
Yeah,
We're well on our
crises
way.
at all.
So the dame is still in the room,
She's in the
sleeping?
The dame is on board.
Oh yeah,
Presumably.
I can hear her snoring from here.
room. She's napping. Okay. Goodbye stream. Thank you everybody for watching. Who watched?
Thanks.
Bye.